Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. This is CLN Talks Hoops, and I just finished watching the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks Game 1. I want to give my honest opinions on it. This is about 10 minutes after the game just ended. What a fantastic Game 1 to start off with. My honest opinion was I was going to say Spurs was going to be the person that I chose to win this game, because I have Spurs in 5 as my original kind of viewpoint on it. And I apologize to any Knicks fans who are going to watch this video. I didn't have that much of a high expectation when it came to the New York Knicks for this, alright? Not that they're a bad team or anything like that. I mean, they were 10-0 going into the finals. They have swept 2 teams. And the team that gave them the most trouble was the Atlanta Hawks, alright? So just being able to sweep, who was it? Was it the Sixers? They beat the Sixers, and then they beat the Cavaliers, right? So just being able to beat teams like that and then go into a series like this and you beat the team that beat the defending champions, that is a really huge pull, all right? I want to start off giving a big shout out to Josh Hart. Josh Hart only had 3 points, right? But if you're a box score watcher, anyone can look at the rebounds and be like, oh my goodness, 15 rebounds. And we always associate Josh Hart with kind of like a, you know, he's a glue guy. He does a lot of the little things and stuff like that. Rebounding is something that we all know. However, 15 rebounds is 15 rebounds, right? That's probably more than what anybody in the Thunder had in a single game when we were going against the Spurs, right? And I don't know how tall he is, probably like 6'4". Like, he ain't the tallest guy. Like 6'4", 6'5", getting 15 rebounds, that's hard. That's literally hard. That's why he gets his nickname, right? Like, it's, well, not his nickname, it's his last name. But, you know, it plays a part of his, like, little moniker, right? Just being able to be that guy where you are not even, like the 4th tallest guy out there, right? Like you were on the shorter end getting 15 rebounds, and I'm pretty sure, I look at these notes, he led the entire, like, both teams in rebounding. So that is fantastic. I know New York Knicks fans are extremely happy with this performance. There were times where I felt like he had some open shots that he didn't take, but you guys got to win. I'm not going to say, like, it was, like, bad in his take to not take those threes. It's not on the same level of Chet Holmgren, right? Where we just watched Chet Holmgren pass up on the most wide-open threes. Chet Holmgren's a shooter. Josh Hart is not. I know he had that one game in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavaliers where he was going the hell off, but that's just not that's not who he is, right? And he'll take the open threes if he has it, but I liked he'll change it up a little bit, right? Where, like, he'll have games where he's a lot more aggressive, but other times he'll try to get his teammates involved, because one of his most, if not the most underrated part of Josh Hart's game plan is his playmaking, right? Just because he doesn't have the ball in his hands 24/7 doesn't mean that he can't be a good playmaker. I've seen him do multiple things, just the little things. Getting tip rebounds and passing it to the shooter immediately for a wide open 3, right? Whether they hit it or not, that is the right basketball play. So, extreme huge shout out to Josh Hart. I want to talk about Karl Anthony Towns. Talking about the OKC Spurs series, I just watched the center absolutely get sunned for 7 games straight, right? Like, scared. Didn't want anything to do against Wembanyama. Seemed somebody like Karl Anthony Towns, who I wouldn't say he's like an imposing force by any metric, because he was mostly known as like a shooter who had a little bit of a post game. But under Mike Brown, he's been a lot different this year. I don't know about his previous year with Tibbs and stuff like that, but every time I think of Karl Anthony Towns, I think of a guy that can rebound the ball well, not the greatest defender, but can shoot the pill out of it, right? He ain't really been shooting like that. Doesn't mean he can't hit his open shots, he's changed his game. And during this 10-0 run that they've had, a lot of that is revolving around Karl Anthony Towns' ability to playmake. Once again, hitting that huge check mark on playmaking. Just because Jalen Brunson's out there doesn't mean that if he has the ball for, you know, he has a very high usage rate. So I want to say probably like 40% usage rate. And the other 60% of the time, the guys that have the ball, they find the right play to do. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, his right play today was guarding Wembanyama. And, you know, Wembanyama had a pretty rough game. I'm not going to, like, completely attribute it to Karl Anthony Towns' defense. That 4th quarter was really rough to watch for Wembanyama. I know he had his own scoring run where he had a bunch of free throws and he had that 3. But there were a few plays where you're just kind of, like, scratching your head a little bit, right? Especially if you were a Thunder fan. He had the opportunity. I don't think it was to, like, tie or take the lead or anything like that. It probably should have cut the deficit shorter. But he tried to go for one of those, like, 30-foot threes, and it did not pan out, right? But, yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, I like how physical he was against him when it came to trying to defend him and get shots on him. That is probably the one thing you want to do against Wembanyama. Shaquille O'Neal said it best. All those little, like, hook shots and stuff like that, those finesse moves, it ain't going to work against a guy that's almost a foot taller than you most of the time, right? And I think Cat's probably like 6'11". Maybe he's 7 feet on the dot. I'm not too sure. But Wembanyama is probably 5 to 6 inches taller than him, and his wingspan is God knows how long. When it comes to kind of block someone's shot. But Cat, I liked what he was doing. He kept his head down. He drove by him. There is a little bit of that hook action, when someone goes by you. I don't really think much about it. Honestly, when it came to refereeing, the first half, the Knicks had very limited free throw shooting, but nothing was really glaring to me. Spurs fans, if you're watching this, please let me know. I didn't have the eye on, because, my team's gone, right? So, when it comes, I'm in a complete casual setting now where I can actually watch both teams. There's a few things, but I don't think it was anything, marginal or anything that was, extremely, potent on what you would consider a bad ref game, even if they had Scott Foster. So, shout out to that. Like I said, I could be wrong, but it is what it is. Spurs, gotta start off straight with you guys. De'Aaron Fox had a pretty rough game. I glazed him a little bit Game 7 against the Thunder because he really stepped up. And this is one of those games where it was Game 3, Game 4, where De'Aaron Fox just can't buy a bucket. And I know he still has a lingering health issue, right? I know that he's probably playing through injury. I don't want to say he's completely injured. I want to say he's probably around 85-90%, right? He still has that speed. I can see it. He is still sprinting with the rest of them. But his shot making and decision making was something that I did not like in this game, right? He started off in the first quarter. He was 0 for 3 on threes. And anytime he took a three, I'm sitting there as a Knicks fan, this is what you want. This is what you want. You want De'Aaron Fox to take as many threes as you can because he's not a good three-point shooter. And then the opposite end, we have Julian Champagnie, who had a destructive first half start where he was 5 for 6 on threes. I thought he was probably going to break the finals three-point record at that point, you know what I mean? He was on a heater. He's carrying off Game 7 where he had 6 threes against the Thunder. Coming into this, he had 5, which I don't know how much he finished. He finished with 5, so 5 for 10. He completely cooled off in the second half. A lot of that's definitely just, decision-making and the coaching staff on the Knicks of making rotations and stuff like that, not trying to get Champagnie a lot of open threes, because that's what it was. He had a lot of open threes in that first half, which he is the best shooter on that team. You're not going to win a game if you leave the best shooter wide open, so I'm glad they kind of made that adjustment for them. For San Antonio, I was going through the box score. I saw a few things. I know they said, Stephon Castle had, 7 rebounds at one point, stuff like that. But, dude, the team rebounding for the Spurs, except for, De'Aaron Fox, which De'Aaron Fox had 4 as a point guard, so that's pretty dang good, you know what I mean? But, I'm going to read these stats off to you. Champagnie, he had 10. Devin Vassell, 9. Wembanyama, 12. Stephon Castle, 8. And De'Aaron Fox had 4. That is fantastic. Me, personally, I don't think I've ever noticed something like that where the entire team is rebounding well. I mean, you got the Knicks, who's just Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart. And when it came to hustle, that first half, the Spurs were bringing it. And not that they kind of let off the gas a little bit when it came to their hustling, but my goodness, they were jumping out of the gym to get rebounds, right? And that's a credit to this rebounding staff. That's remarkable. If you're a Spurs fan, you love to see that. Going on to Jalen Brunson. One thing that I will point out is, even though he won them the game, 30 points on 31 shots is very bad. That is abysmal, right? In his defense, he is being guarded by Steph Castle and whoever, except for that fourth quarter. They had Julian Champagnie on him most of the time, and my mind's kind of blanking on if it's because he did a switch, on a pick and roll or something like that, but I swear there was a few times where Champagnie was checking up Jalen Brunson, and I don't think Julian Champagnie is an awful defender, but out of that whole entire lineup, the starting lineup, he is by far the weakest, right? I just named them all. Well, maybe Devin Vassell, but Devin Vassell can clamp up a little bit. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. I didn't like Champagnie on Jalen Brunson. Maybe he was trying to get length over him or something like that, but my goodness, he was barbecue chicken. He was barbecue chicken in that fourth quarter, so not a big fan of that. But going on to Brunson's 31 shots, who else is going to take the shots? You know what I mean? They got Karl Anthony Towns, which for good old Cat, he had 15 shots. Anunoby had 12. They were just shooting the ball, which is what you got to do. One of the biggest things against the Thunder was that they were trying to play to their sets and letting the Spurs get caught up on their defense, right? Anybody watching it could have seen that. I mean, you had Richard Jefferson, or not Richard Jefferson, Reggie Miller, commenting on it. You got to play fast against the Spurs. That is how you get Wembanyama out of these sets. What do the Knicks do? Every time in transition, they were running, they were shooting, they were doing everything they could. I mean, I can't exceed the exact amount of shots they put up on this little stat sheet right here, but I know that it was a lot. big shout out to Jose Alvarado. I know he didn't have like, you know, like a fantastic. You're not gonna say this is the Alvarado game by any metric, but that little jolt of energy that he gave from that second quarter, that's all it takes sometimes as a bench guy. You know what I mean? There was one play particularly where, you know, he got a quick layup, but he had that one that people probably saw where he went under the rim like immediately and was able to touch it off the glass with Wembanyama with a goaltending call. That's fantastic. Like that is stuff like that where being a small guard and getting a layup, quotation marks, you know, over Wembanyama, that's a big momentum killer right there. Even just a single layup. Because Wembanyama takes that stuff personally, right? This is like, it is his domain. He is the unanimous defensive player of the year. He just let a little guard come over there and sneak in a layup off the glass. That is high IQ, is what I see right there. Because he didn't try to do anything fancy. He went immediately. Now, honestly, he may have probably smoked the layup. Like, it was that quick. Like, once it left his hands, it was on the glass. Not saying that is a way to beat Wembanyama, but he is block hungry. So seeing something like that, it was kind of eye-opening, where it's like, oh, you know, that's actually pretty smart. Like, being able to just get it off the glass immediately. Because in hindsight, you're sitting there, you're like, oh, yeah, that's fine, but good luck doing that when there's a 7'5" guy trailing you on a layup. Like, I would freeze out. Like, I wouldn't say I would, you know, Chet Holmgren and do a lot of stupid stuff, but, I mean, I wouldn't do it. Like, I wouldn't do it, which is a lot of people. I mean, they called it the U-turn, where everybody would go in and Wembanyama would come in from this way and they'd pump fake or do whatever and they pass it away. I mean, he had 3 blocks, or did he have 3 blocks? Yeah, he had 3 blocks, but he probably deterred like 50 shots. Anything with Wembanyama on the defensive side of the ball, I'm never upset with. But that fourth quarter was just not a good look for Wembanyama. The threes weren't dropping for him. He was 2 for 9, which he's not a horrific 3-point shooter. That's 22%. Not good. Not good at all. I felt like the offense in the fourth quarter was extremely stagnant for the San Antonio Spurs. Other than that, there was a lot of just turning the ball over, and you're letting Jalen Brunson work. They were throwing late doubles at Jalen Brunson towards the end of that, and Jalen Brunson able to spin off and use his footwork to get shots. What really sealed the game for me was, I mean, like, it was within, like, I think 4 points. Jalen Brunson hit, like, the most bullshit shot I've probably ever seen in my life at that point. Like, legit, he was, I think this was Champagnie guarding him, so I was giving him flack a little bit for his defending, but Champagnie was guarding him, and he had him in a box. And I thought he was going to get blocked, but I think Jalen Brunson, like, moved to the side when he went for his fadeaway and kind of, like, did that, and drilled it. Just straight cashed it, and they're down by 6, and now it's down to a free throw battle, right? Like, if there's anybody you want with the ball in the clutch this playoffs, it has been Jalen Brunson, and he delivered once again against arguably the best defensive team since, you know, October. You know what I mean? Like, I know OKC's number 1. I mean, Spurs are definitely the most defensive team right now going against them, so, you know, there's that. And having somebody like Jalen Brunson that can just walk down anybody. Like, even if he had 31 shots, they were impactful. Like, a lot of those shots are shots that you wanted him to take. Who cares if he's forcing like that? You know what I mean? A lot of this is kind of like who else is going to have the ball. Sorry about that. Had to take care of something. One more thing that I'll touch on regarding Game 1 is the Harrison Barnes minutes. He had 12 minutes. I didn't like a single bit of it. Not that the Spurs really have like a lot of like bench units that can kind of replace his minutes, but looking at the box score right here, I mean, I got Keldon Johnson with 8 minutes. 6th man of the year only playing 8 minutes is bad. You know, it's kind of like, this guy got 6th man of the year, he's only playing 8 minutes. Is that a tribute to the coaching staff on what Mitch Johnson wanted? You know, stuff like that. I'm not too sure. I know that he's had times where he's just not as playable as he should, and he had a few, like, boneheaded plays, but it wasn't a lot. I mean, 8 minutes isn't a large sample size. Regardless, the opposite is true for Harrison Barnes, where 12 minutes is a lot of time for a guy like him, because he doesn't get a lot of playing time anymore. You know, I don't think he's like extremely old, but I mean, everyone remembers Harrison Barnes from like the 2015 run. Like this guy's over 30, and he's just kind of been mediocre for a long time. He's there as a veteran presence, and that's cool and all, but when you're in the finals and you get almost 15 minutes of playing time and you put up a donut, I don't really know like what else to say with your minutes. I think it kind of needs to be shed a little bit. He could definitely provide a lot of help if he's able to hit his corner threes, which is what he should be doing. I mean, his whole career he's been a good corner shooter, and he's had times where he could take over games, but I wasn't a fan of it. I felt like Keldon Johnson should have got more minutes, right? I felt like Carter Bryant should have got more minutes because they let Carter Bryant play quite a bit of healthy minutes against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Not that like all the minutes were good. I mean, there was like definitely some growing pains when it came to what he was doing. But I mean, if there's any time to learn, you put him in the Western Conference Finals, going into like, you know, games 5 and 6 and stuff like that, and a little bit in game 7. Like, you trust this guy. He's your rookie. Only getting 4 minutes. I mean, he only took 1 shot. He got some free throws, but only getting 1 shot. Like, I'm not a big fan of it. But yeah, that's about all I gotta touch on with that. Predictions for game 2. I've done talked about how I said Spurs in 5. Do I still believe that is the case? I don't know anymore. With the Knicks taking that fourth quarter lead and like a demanding way, like they were like, you know, this may be your home court, but this is our game, and that is exactly what happened. It just, once you saw Jalen Brunson kind of like revving up, like I felt like we all knew, like, okay, like the Knicks are rallying, everyone's playing with heart. Do I believe the Knicks will take game 2? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that the Spurs are gonna come out a lot more aggressive, because they not that they had like an extremely slow start in the first quarter. I mean, they led in the first quarter, but it wasn't like what we saw in that Western Conference where they, I mean, what was it, a 17-0 run, 15-0 run at the start of the first quarter against Oklahoma? Like, they had a lot of strong first quarter starts. I'm expecting that game too. I feel like the offense is going to get more in rhythm. It's just reading your opponent at that point, right? They got too many talented shooters, too many talented players to be putting up those statistics. Devin Vassell going 1 for 6. Stephon Castle 1 for 5. De'Aaron Fox 0 for 4. That's not going to happen again. Well, at least like back-to-back. It ain't going to happen back-to-back. So I'm going to say Spurs. I'm going to say they're going to take their home court. We're going to go into a 1-1 game 3, and that should be very interesting. Other than that, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys for stopping by. New York Knicks, big shout out on the dub, you know, stuff like that. 3 more wins. We may potentially see New York City burned to the ground. We have no idea. So I'm looking forward to see what is it, Side Talk NYC or Sideline NYC. I have got to see that after I'm done with this video. Other than that, appreciate you guys for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.